All right, folks, what's happening? Apparently my intro music wasn't set to play, but that doesn't really matter. So today we were planning on having Sons of Liberty, and we got Sean here from Sons of Liberty Gun Works to come on. We were going to be talking about the Mark I. And unfortunately, I think all of us saw it, was horrified by the fact that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. We're still looking to see additional details, but I know that's going to kind of overshadow a lot of what's going on. We're just kind of going back and forth between different news agencies, seeing what other information was coming out from that. The last time I looked at anything, I was getting all this all set up, and the last time I looked at anything, they had somebody in custody. Yeah. I was hearing different stories of whether or not
he was released, from what I saw.
That older gentleman,
the bald guy with glasses,
was actually the shooter or not. So anyways, we'll try to get a better handle on those current events. We do have Mike coming on here. He's the owner of Sons of Liberty, and he actually has Sean, you were telling me a little bit about his personal he had a personal relationship or had done some things with Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA.
Yeah, I don't want to speak too much because I personally don't know too much other than, obviously very shocking news. And so Mike wants to jump on because he's done some work with him. He's spoken at a few events, done some touring colleges as part of the Turning Point stuff. So that's really his to share. But so he definitely has a connection to it, and very unfortunate news. But I know it's something he's trying to get on right now to jump in for.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I mean, one of the things I actually contacted both Sean and Mike, prior to this, I'm like, hey, given the, current events, do you guys want to do this tonight? We'd love to have you on. Either way, I'm going to be talking about it. And I think, this needs to be discussed. But, if you want to push this episode and having you guys come on, and of course, both Sean and Mike were like, no, hey, let's jump on and talk about it. So I think that's good. I think this needs to be discussed. This is just horrific. And, the first thing that I saw, obviously, before he was confirmed that he was killed, and man, when I saw that video, to me, I just knew immediately, like, he was dead, basically immediately. I mean, the way that he seized up, I've seen that before, regardless of blood loss or those other things. I think most of his spinal cord was probably blown out. Just the way that he seized up, I kind of knew before, 20 minutes before that we got the official word that he's dead, that, that is not a person that's going to live. And, this is what we're seeing in America. And I told Summer, I was like, man, this feels like Butler all over again, but it's actually much, much worse given that,
Mike.
I don't know, like, it's one thing if you assassinate a president, but somebody so young that's out there trying to engage people on campuses and, just have an exchange of ideas and promote that idea overall. And for him to be killed for it, to me, was just horrific.
Murdered for it,
right there in front of, everybody.
I saw an article that his wife.
Mike, what's going on, man? Thanks for coming on. Your mic's muted.
Oh, he's not connected, it says.
Oh.
I'll be back in a minute. Mike's probably like me, not very good with electronics. But yeah, it's just one of those things that's absolutely insane.
That's you.
That's me.
It's probably Mike.
Probably Mike calling you.
Hello. That's okay.
Folks, it really is live.
No, that was a telemarketer.
Oh.
They were watching the
and
show.
The crazy thing was they said, hi, now you can hear me now. And it was like a recording. So I was like, oh.
Setting you up, man.
I didn't think Mike had that was not the number Mike. that I have for him. Yeah, and I'm reading through some of your guys' content comments. It's outrageous to me. And we're seeing a trend here, right? We see a trend that these violent attacks keep coming from the left. I'm not saying that there are some, violent right-wing extremists. There are. But what we don't see is constant attempts and assassination attempts and trying to silence people through terrorism, which is exactly what this is. We just don't see that from the right. And You know, I don't know what to say about it. It's pretty insane. I want to see if they actually catch the person.
Well, apparently they know that it was on the shooter was on top of a specific building. They immediately locked down campus. I don't see how, and they were going building by building searching. I don't know how he could escape campus, but
Yeah, I don't know either.
yeah,
Yeah.
it just made me super sad. I
Yeah.
just felt super sad all afternoon and evening. Terrible.
Let's see. The named guy, George Zinn, is under arrest for obstruction of justice. There is another person of interest in custody and is being questioned. All right, Mike, we see you, buddy. I don't know if you can hear us. It looks like your mic is muted. Hopefully we can get you dialed in here. Yeah, this was a quote that I kept seeing all day today, and I think this is reminiscent of exactly what Charlie Kirk was about. When people stop talking, that's when violence happens. That's when you begin to view the other side as evil. They begin to lose their humanity. And he also went on to say that's also when civil wars start. We have I've talked about this before. We have a major divide in this country, and it really does feel more and more like the belief systems between one half of the country and the other are irreconcilable. And I don't know how you fix that, but I do think we have a political party and a political ideology that wants to shut down any sort of dissent, any sort of opposition. You know, I do feel like it's tyrannical at its base, that it's authoritarian. And these are all the things that they claim that the right is and that Trump is, when in fact what we see when we see the actions and we see the fruit of their actions, that's what's actually coming from the left. It's gaslighting at its best.
Says George Zinn thing says he was in custody. He was going to be released, but then he was retained and booked into county jail for obstruction of justice. Officials in Utah say the shooter. Utah officials say the shooter is still at large. FBI announced the suspect was in custody. So now we have a back and forth that was 25 minutes ago, and now they're showing clips on the old gram of looks like somebody scanning around, somebody laying on a roof.
Yeah.
So that's the first I've seen of that one. And it does look like a dude laying on a roof. That's interesting.
Yeah.
How skilled of a shooter would they have had to be to make that shot from
200 yards?
200 yards.
Not very skilled.
Not very
It's
skilled.
not with 223.
Even Chris could do it.
Yeah, all day long. I still think it was closer. I talked with somebody of vast background in the game, and we were speaking, and he said he thinks it's within 50 to 100 yards because they had the crosshairs and or sights on his forehead, and that's why I hit low.
Well, that actually, I mean, depending on what rifle it is, that actually doesn't make sense because
you know the guy I was talking to.
I do.
I know the guy who told me to too.
Well, I'm just saying that makes sense to me though.
If it was an AR and it was 0 to like 25 or 36 yards, at 50 yards, 100 yards, it's going to end up being high. So I don't know. Again, we don't know, and I don't even want to get into the speculation game until
that's till tomorrow.
We figure some things out.
But yes, 200 yards, I could hit that summer.
Yeah,
I'd have been a little bit.
Apparently, Jason couldn't.
Well, let's switch.
I didn't say anything.
Let's switch
No,
gears
I'm talking about that, Jason.
a little bit here. Sean, so the last time I had you on, you worked for KGM Suppressors. And now you have moved over to Sons of Liberty, which I again, two great companies.
I was about to say we love the KGM suppressors.
We do.
They've been working great for us,
and we've been selling them well, and they've been performing well, and everybody's happy with them. So, what is your actual title at Sons of Liberty, Sean?
So I got hired as the VP Sales and Marketing over here. Friend of mine that retired out of the AMU, Army Marksmanship Unit, a guy named Scott Peterson. He got hired probably December, January as Special Projects R&D. The company's gone through some changes this year, personnel-wise, other stuff, the new Mark 1 coming out, et cetera. And back in March, we had a CEO change. So Nate Horvat from previously Staccato came over as the new CEO here, and kind of my name got thrown in the hat to kind of change up some stuff, drive things forward. And so started talking, great company, great products, and really enjoyed getting to know Nate kind of this process. Scott was telling me some of the cool stuff that now us, we are working on, and so just it's been a fun ride so far. Been here about 4 months, and so oversee the sales and
I'm assuming that, well, I know at the time that the Mark 1 project was already kind of rolling. Did you get a chance to get in there at any time, like contribute to that, and how did that work?
Not as the Mark 1 that really exists right now. It's the Mark 1 rifle is made for a very specific DoD SOCOM program as very specific outlines. People ask, well, why on a lot on the gun? And if Mike gets on, he can go in even more detail, because it's really his 2-year really is his passion project. But made it for them. And so what the 11.5 that exists right now is very much a version of that gun. We have a 14.5 version now that's starting to make its way out in the world. We have some other variants, some other things and features and enhancements, stuff they're working on. Don't want to reveal that quite yet. It's not quite ready, but it will be an ecosystem of guns of kind of next generation, taking that AR to the last little bit, like any effort. A lot of stuff's 80%, fewer 90%, but what's that last little 1 to 2% gain that's the hardest and most expensive? And that's what we really focused on with the Mark 1 and the stuff that we're also working on of, for this particular application. At that pinnacle, you really are chasing a application specific versions, variants, parts, configurations. And so that's kind of where we're at with it, which is also part of the fun, because you really have to deep dive into these things to make it that pinnacle product.
Yeah. And, that's one of the things that, of course, anytime that we post a video about something like the Mark 1 or any expensive item, a lot of people come out like, oh, that's just too expensive. Or look, folks, I think Sean just kind of touched on it, and I'll be the first to tell you right now, when it comes to expensive anything, right, or the expense of anything, there's diminishing returns as you go up in price point. I mean, that's just I don't know. I'm sure that's an economic law that somebody can pull up somewhere, but definitely for firearms, and I think that's clearly what you guys were trying to do. There is some extremely innovative stuff going on there, and obviously this firearm wasn't necessarily built for the average user consumer. I think there's always going to be a market where people want what tier 1 guys are using, and there's also a good argument to be made for that. But when it comes to the overall functionality, the durability, the reliability, there's a lot of things that are expensive, and especially when you're adding a bunch of new things, and I think you guys clearly did with this gun. It adds to the expense, and chances are, 3 years from now, some of these expensive procedures and processes that you have in this gun are going to be cheaper. I mean, I think that's just, and so maybe 3 years from now, this $3,200 gun, you might be able to get it for $2,500 or $2,000 or whatever. Right. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that's just like with anything. I mean, I don't know if anybody looked at what VCRs cost when they first came out, but they weren't cheap.
Dating yourself.
Now people don't know what it. Now people don't know what it is.
Yeah, that's
what's that thing?
There was also a lot of discussion. I know the answer to this, but I'd like to hear you or Mike talk about this. One of the biggest complaints I kept seeing in the comments, people kept bringing up, was like, oh, there's not ambi controls. I know what the answer is to that, but if you will, talk a little bit about why the military, which is who this was built for, may not want ambi controls.
Sure. Yeah, that is one of our, well, everybody else has it. Well, we have guns that have ambi controls in them. People think that because Mark 1 doesn't have it, we're not interested in that. And that's one, not the case. Stay tuned, more to come on stuff they're working on. But again, we made this, as I said, we made this gun for a specific customer, for a very specific, in government contracting lingo, PSPIC, performance specification sheet. And I said, it literally said no ambidextrous controls from a bolt release side. Now, safety, yes. And I guess we can go down a rabbit hole of what is ambi. Well, ambi safety, ambi charging handle.
Sure.
Gun has both of those.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have an ambi mag release, but you can easily add that. So it's really, we're talking bolt release. But complexity of parts, you know, so one more thing to break, one more thing to seize up, you know, gets dust, gets salt water, gets corroded, so one thing to break. And then ultimately the guys that are shooting are like, we've had ambi guns and we don't use the ambi feature on it. You know, at some point when you've reloaded a magazine 10,000 times, you generally have a way of probably doing a, you know, thumb or tap on the bolt release, or, you know, racking the charging handle anyways, to where that feature really wasn't something that they wanted. So they wrote in there, we don't want it. But again, that's not for everybody. We have other end user customers like, hey, we'd like this gun and ambi. And, you know, so it is something kind of our dream sheet that, you know, may be working on, or, you know, not quite ready or don't want to release yet, but it's as is, it's a pretty cool gun. And it's, you know, some of the most experienced and highest round count volume users in the world might be playing with this gun, and they said they didn't want it. So they're the ones that are buying it. So we said, we'll give you what you want.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll tell you
Well,
what.
and the other thing too is I think people confuse ease of use with reliability. And the fact of the matter is, once we start adding a bunch of different controls, you're adding mechanical features that can fail, that can be, you know, plugged up with dirt, dust, debris, sand, all those things. This was like an argument that I got into with somebody on there about, you know, he was saying, why are gun makers still using forward assist? Folks, let me tell you something. Anybody that's been into a gunfight overseas in a sandbox, they have had to use a forward assist. I remember many times in training, doing beach assaults with, I was on a maritime ops team, you know, all of those things, you need a forward assist. Now, if you're only going to be shooting at the range, or you keep your gun in your safe, I get it. Maybe you don't need that. But it also, one of the biggest things that forward assist do, and I think why so many people you're not seeing those, you're also is basically coming from, it's a lot cheaper to produce that upper. There's a lot less material. Where's
I don't know. Oh, right there.
Where?
You got YouTube up.
Oh, we'll drop that.
Turn
There
that
we go.
off.
There we go.
Feedback loop.
Yeah.
I still hear it.
It's on somebody's phone over there.
Not mine.
It's mine. My phone. I'm guilty.
Listen to it.
What's wrong with you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in the right application, like on a large frame gas gun, I like an ambi bolt release because it's 1.5 pounds weight that's being held back by this little part. And usually I'm prone or in a shooting position that I don't want to break position to try and cycle a charging handle. So being able to reach up, it is nice in that instance. But, you know, I've had it also bind up as well. So it's just nature of the beast.
Yeah. 100%. And again, anytime that you're trying to build something with reliability in mind, like the less mechanics that you have involved that can fail. I mean, it's just gonna, you know, ensure that it's much more reliable, without a doubt.
And one of the other features on the gun, and some of the why, is one of the requirements that the Mark I was built around was reverse compatibility. Now, the rail, you're not just going to put on any other gun, but bolt carrier group, small parts, including a bolt catch, you know, the safety, the magazine release, you know, barrels, you know, parts, pieces, things like that. For the guys that are using it, if you're in some part of the world that they don't have a massive armory, but maybe there is a partner force, or there is another U.S. unit that has a couple extra, you know, cannibal, you know, parts on hand or guns available, you can reconfigure the gun and repair it and get this gun back in operation without, well, you know what, you don't have this rare and exotic part or this material, so you're kind of hosed on that gun because you forgot to bring extras, or you burned through the ones that you brought, which I think, again, is hard for a lot of people to conceptualize. I mean, Gary, you probably have experience with that. I don't. I can have a garage full of stuff that I can keep my stuff running, but when you're a part of the world that, yeah, it's a C-17 flight to get it replaced, like, that's not the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, again, when I was obviously on a SF team, I was 18 Bravo, so I was the weapons guy. I always kept a bunch of extra. We're pretty fortunate in that regard that we always were able to keep a lot of extra guns, extra parts, and things like that. So when things did go down, and usually the only thing I can ever remember taking place is bolt lug shearing. That was a major. That happened quite a bit overseas, especially with, again, just sand and stuff getting in there would cause issues. And honestly, the guns would still run even if you had 3, 4, 5. I won't say 5, but definitely 2 or 3 of the bolt lugs sheared. But the other part of that is when the I forgot what I was going to say. I was looking at this thing over here.
Well,
This guy was,
it looks like Mike's trying to say, can you add him? It looks like he's in the background. I don't know.
he was.
Let's see.
Okay.
Oh, this is one of the things that distracted me there. Bad levers. Guys, I'm just going to give you a hot take on bad levers. Number one, I will not allow bad levers in our courses. We've had 2 guys with bad levers, AD. Like anytime that you're adding additional controls down there by the boom boom switch, I think is a really bad idea. I think it's appropriately named bad lever. There's definitely better options out there, and I do not advocate. I just think they're a terrible device altogether. That's just my personal take on bad levers. I think most people, especially unskilled people, are going to end up ADing, and I've seen it twice in our courses. And after that second time, the first time, I'm like, hey, this guy was an idiot. Second time, it's a completely different person. And as a matter of fact, I think that's the only time we've ever had ADs that I can remember with a rifle. And both of those were guys running bad levers, and they were trying to change magazines and drop bolts and do all this thing, and they ended up having an AD. So that's my take on bad levers.
Looks like he's back in the background again.
It's black.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, it's all right.
Real quick,
I feel bad. He's trying
while
to
we
get
are
on and-
waiting on Mike, so there has been an announcement. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen over here.
Cash said something.
And here's an update.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this dark and tragic occasion. I want to thank our law enforcement officers who are leading this investigation, starting with Chief Long and his response here with the UVU Police Department. We're grateful for your leadership and your team. And again, to the speakers that you've just heard from who are co-leading this investigation. I also want to recognize Sheriff Mike Smith, who has been an invaluable partner as this investigation moves forward. I've been in touch with President Trump, with FBI Director Kash Patel. We are completely aligned with our state and federal partners as we work through this case. Now, this is a dark day for our state. It's a tragic day for our nation. And I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination. We are celebrating 250 years of the founding of this great nation. That founding document, the Declaration of Independence, that this great experiment on which we embarked together 250 years ago, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. The first one of those is life. And today, a life was taken. Charlie Kirk was first and foremost a husband and a dad to 2 young children. He was also very much politically involved, and that's why he was here on campus. Charlie believed in the power of free speech and debate to shape ideas and to persuade people. Historically, our university campuses in this nation and here in the state of Utah have been the place where truth and ideas are formulated and debated. And that's what he does. He comes on college campuses and he debates. That is foundational to the formation of our country, to our most basic constitutional rights. And when someone takes the life of a person because of their ideas or their ideals, then that very constitutional foundation is threatened. Now, we have a person of interest in custody. The investigation is ongoing. But I want to make it crystal clear right now, to whoever did this, we will find you. We will try you. And we will hold you accountable to the furthest extent of the law. And I just want to remind people that we still have the death penalty here in the state of Utah.
You
Yep.
Our nation is broken. We've had political assassinations recently in Minnesota. We had an attempted assassination on the governor of Pennsylvania. And we had an attempted assassination on a presidential candidate and former president of the United States, and now current president of the United States. Nothing I say can unite us as a country. Nothing I can say right now can fix what is broken. Nothing I can say can bring back Charlie Kirk. Our hearts are broken. We mourn with his wife, his children, his family, his friends. We mourn as a nation. If anyone in the sound of my voice celebrated even a little bit at the news of this shooting, I would beg you to look in the mirror and to see if you can find a better angel in there somewhere. I don't care what his politics are. I care that he was an American. We desperately need our country. We desperately need leaders in our country. But more than the leaders, we just need every single person in this country to think about where we are and where we want to be. To ask ourselves, is this it? Is this what 250 years has wrought on us? I pray that that's not the case. I pray that those who hated what Charlie Cook stood for will put down their social media and their pens and pray for his family.
Yeah. So again, that was from that was earlier from today. It was 18 minutes ago live.
You got to put us back up there.
I know. I'm going
Okay.
to relax there. Calm down.
Work faster.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a real tragedy, and that's what's crazy to me is, again, he was a father. He had a 3-year-old daughter and a 1-year-old son. I do think there's going to be a big change in America, and I don't know what all the answers are or what that's going to look like. This kind of worries me a little bit when I agree to some extent on this, and Americans have to confront leftist ideology and terrorism with zero tolerance. It's been months of leftist terror and years of leftist destruction on American cities. And that's true. Like, we saw everything that happened during the George Floyd riots. We saw, and then for them to make the right protests that we saw during January 6th and somehow label that as an insurrection and turn that into like the worst thing that's ever happened, when there literally is no comparison of what happened on January 6th versus what happened over months and months and months in multiple cities all over America, where many, many people were killed, businesses were destroyed. All of this going on during COVID. We had, local and federal police completely turning a blind eye to just murder, mayhem, and everything else that was taking place. We had city leaders completely pulling back the reins and not protecting, innocent people in the community and just letting criminals run amok. And I do think that there is there's a backlash that's taking place. And I do think that we are going to be tolerating a lot of this a lot less. And I hope that, and but at the same time,
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I'm pretty
Well, no,
jaded. I think people will be out. People will be outraged for a couple of weeks, and then nothing will come of it, just like every other time. Maybe.
I don't know. I think we're seeing a big change, and I think really going back to George Floyd, and then the impacts of January 6th and how we saw the media and even the government at the time kind of throw that in our face and try to say that, turn it into something. They were gaslighting us all to hell and back. And then, of course, COVID, and then the assassination attempts on Trump. I think there has been a change, and I think we're continuing to see it. It's probably not what we want to see and not as dramatic as we want to see, but I do think it is very real. I think there is less tolerance of some of this nonsense, and people are calling bullshit for what it is. And, we're tired of the trans thing being thrown in our face. We see what's going on with, I don't know how many of the last school shootings have been trans. There is a leftist ideology that's clearly that people are identifying that is very, very dangerous. And it's not the people on the right with the guns that are doing these things. It is something completely different. And they're kind of making our point for us. It's like, hey, we believe in the Second Amendment. I'm a Second Amendment absolutist. And look, you're not taking my guns. And these are all good reasons as to why. And the other thing too is I don't know what the carry policy is on that Utah campus, but hopefully there were people. I would like to think that if it was known that people were carrying guns, less things like this would have taken place. There would have been less opportunity.
Googling this.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I say because WVU, I know in West Virginia you can carry there.
Yeah, and again, when you have someone that has pre-planned this, which clearly was taking place.
Oh yeah.
They pre-planned
100%.
this. They found
What was the name of the?
It was in Provo, Utah. I believe it was correct.
Was it University of Utah? No,
I don't think so.
UVU.
Anyone notice all the grand jury indictments against the deep state lately?
Utah Valley.
Obama, others.
Summer.
Notice he was asked about mass shootings, then was shot. I think this was trying to stir the pot.
I honestly think that you're on. What's your name?
We'll just call him TJ.
TJ. I think you're onto something because I was talking to a couple of buddies this afternoon, and that's the first thing that one of them brought up was it was supposed to happen during that, and I wholeheartily agree that the dude that was asking it knew it was coming, but we'll see when it comes out.
Well, I am.
It was kind of weird how it happened at that point in time. Just saying.
I'm very disappointed at the lack of aggression that the Trump administration. I feel like they're trying to. I don't know if it's extended olive branch, but they're not being very aggressive when it comes to investigating a lot of these things. So, or at least not nearly as aggressive as I would like to see. There's clearly some weird things going on with the Epstein files, all that. I don't know what the answers are. I'm not happy with it. What I do know is that this is a better choice than what the alternative was. Whether we had Kamala or we had Joe Biden for the next 4 years, there's a lot worse to be done. I'm not saying that we should just settle for it. And I think people should get out there and, talk to their Congress folks, make good decisions when it comes to elections, prevent some of these things from taking place in the future. And hopefully we'll get to where we're holding some politicians accountable, because that's clearly not taking place. It was Valerie University.
yeah. They allow concealed carry on campus.
Wow. Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
There's a list of probably about 8 or 10 campuses in Utah that allow concealed carry on campus.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Matt K says they call everyone Nazis and fascists, but want gun control like assault weapons ban. Counterintuitive. You think they'd be smart enough to realize they need guns to combat Nazis and fascism? Clearly, look, we all know what's going on when they're calling for gun control. These are statists. These are people that believe in an all-powerful state. They believe in authoritarianism. So we know what's going. And it's the same old thing that every bad legislation has ever been pushed, from gun control to, I don't care if you're talking about prohibition, like all bad legislation is pushed under the guise of safety and security. And again, safety at the expense of liberty is tyranny and slavery. So, I mean, that is what we're about, and we need to know that.
I think I was thinking about this evening on the drive home. I think someone knew how powerful and effective Charlie Kirk would continue to be, and the path that he was heading, and they needed to take him out now.
I agree.
He made too many good points.
Well, I mean, even
like.
behind the scenes, the influence he was already having, the halls of power that he was walking in, the connections he had,
the coattails riding on.
That was a future presidential candidate, and they needed to take him out now.
The fact is that Charlie was very persuasive.
Correct.
He was one of the best communicators of his generation, period.
Of the right period, maybe ever. And, you would actually see him in debates on college campuses, and you could see that the person that is this militant leftist, he's literally changing
their mind
in real time.
Yeah.
And seeing how stupid their argument or their belief system is, and it's just falling down. So
I hope, and that's one thing that I hope comes out of people that see this tragic thing that happened today is hopefully some of those people on the left, or that whole belief system, can say, like, this is enough. I don't believe in this type of stuff anymore. Like, if this is what this side believes in, is taking out anyone that speaks differently, then I can't be a part of this. Maybe some people will change their mind about the way they see some things. Sean, did I interrupt you? I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, to your point of really getting people to wake up. I mean, it's both sides. I mean, these things, that this is what's killing everybody, is the obsession with it and not waking up and looking around, and getting people to think, like, wait a minute, like I keep being told this, and then you start believing it. Especially at a young age. Now I look at it, I've got 4 kids, some kids about the same age as his, and it's terrible. But even things that you hear, it's like, wait a minute, where'd you hear that from? Where'd you learn that at? And some other kid said it, or heard it at school. And when you grow up with this, and there's never a counterpoint to it, and then it's reinforced, and look at the power of algorithms and AI and manipulation, you get into without sounding too crazy about it. I mean, there is just getting people to open their eyes and open their ears and think, use their brain, not be told what to think, but actually think for themselves, which is the whole foundational principle of us, was individual responsibility. And it's a tough pill to swallow, but we need to swallow. This is unacceptable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think
you hit the nail on the head, Sean.
Yeah, like you
literally
said,
hit the nail on the head.
With algorithms and stuff, like, you watch one video and show interest in it, then that's all it shows you, and you never see an opposing viewpoint.
Correct.
You get fed that constantly, and you're just indoctrinated with the same viewpoint over and over and over. I think too, everyone's in here and no one's having conversations in person anymore. So hearing that opposing viewpoint from someone else on a screen, you lose that humanity to it. So, you start to see people as not even human. They're an idea. They're an opposition. It's not a human that is talking to you anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You also lose that if they don't see that the same point as you might get punched in the face too.
And you're right. The civility side to it of, we talk about an armed society as a polite society, but if you don't live in society because you live in your phone, you live in your computer, you live on watching your TV, you really don't have relevance to it. It's crazy when you think, I travel a lot, so I get to see all different kinds of people all over the country. People are more interested in taking a good picture on Instagram versus worrying about the other people that are around them. Or I got to stage this. Like, well, why don't you just be decent in the 5 people that you're around versus maybe the 50 you're trying to reach online, kind of thing.
Yeah,
you're right.
Exactly.
Yeah, we even see that, like, we see that on YouTube with communities that we 99.9% agree. If you put out an opposing opinion on some, I don't know, gun doctrine or something like that, like, suddenly, it's like all these crazy comments, like, my God, you say something like, hey, you know what? Forward assist should be on a gun. The next thing you know, like, people saying, you're an idiot, you're a moron, like things that things that I've never had anyone disagree with me with that type of tone in person. It's like really weird.
Yeah, I'm about to say,
Uh,
come tell Gary that in person.
you know,
I might have to try that.
so it is there's a disconnect that these devices have caused. But the other part of this, I think it even goes more sinister than just an algorithm too. I do think that there is a real push, because we know that the ideology of most of the people that run these big tech companies. Like, I don't think it's like, oh, I just stumbled upon something and now I'm seeing that pushed over and over. Like, there are certain messages being highly suppressed, and there are certain messages being highly promoted. And that's the real sinister part of all this. And unfortunately, that's where we got to get involved with our kids, because, like, if you really sat your kids down, even our kids, which are, are clearly exposed to this stuff nonstop.
No.
But I bet if we really started picking through some of those things that they think or they believe or they think are facts, I think a lot of us would be surprised, given that they, heard what they heard on the internet and now take that as gospel, or a teacher's told them something. And that's the other thing too. Like, when we have academia, we have the media, we have the entire social media working against any sort of traditional values that we have here in the United States. Like, Christianity is constantly demonized. I don't care if you're a Christian or not. But the fact is that our society was founded on Judeo-Christian principles. It wasn't meant to be a theocracy or anything like that. But the fact is that most of our laws are founded on principles that you can find within the Bible, or at least align. Whether you think that was, like, I don't even want to get into that whole debate. But the fact is like,
it aligns though. It does.
When we start talking about some of the biggest, most destructive forces in the United States, it is the destruction of the nuclear family. It is the reliance on welfare, which causes total control of large portions of the population by the government. Like, there's a lot of things going on there that are very, very anti-Christian, to say the least. And again, anti-religion, to say the least, with most religions. So I think there's some things, and that's one thing that I really, really respected Charlie Kirk for. Like, he was a Christian. He put that out there, and, he made it very clear what his beliefs were and where the foundation of everything that he was saying came from.
Well, and he was demonized over it too, and part of that goes back to, in current society, we teach our kids, be accepting of everything and love it. Obviously you should love everyone, but you should be accepting of everything and go along with it. And I'm sorry, but, like, if I see some kid acting stupid, I'll look at my child and be like, you see how dumb that is? You see how stupid they look? Don't do that. You know what I mean? Like,
you can't say stupid.
I will say stupid all day long, but
Yeah.
but,
to the changing culture though, like, if your parents grew up, somebody else would say, hey, quit being an idiot. Like, tell the kid to stop. Like, the long family of law enforcement, multi-generation of family law enforcement, and what they did in the 60s and 70s versus what they did in the 80s and 90s versus what's done today are very different things. Of, like, you got smacked around a little bit if you back talk, like stuff like that, like confronting it in person, or just, hey, quit being an idiot. What are you doing over there? Kind of stuff. I mean, look at, the thing just happened in Charlotte, that Ukrainian gal that got stabbed. Like, people sit there, watch it. Like, it's not the first time that's happened, and unfortunately won't be the last, because it's that, well, I'm not going to get involved. I'm not going to do anything. And,
and that
predators will prey.
Yeah.
Well, and that kind of brings us to another issue that we've been kind of, brainwashed to talk about things that involved, different demographics, right? Like, we have a real problem when it comes to the crime issue in the Black community, and like people can't just, like, it's so taboo to even bring that up. But the fact is like, when we see Black on Black crime going on in Chicago and everything else. And look, I understand all the other things that, slavery, Jim Crow, all those things are bad. We all agree on that, right? But there is another issue going on where a vast majority of Black Americans are growing up in single homes, and they're never taught morals. And that's a problem. And it's not because it's not because that they are unequal or incapable or whatever else. It's a society problem and it's a culture problem that needs to be addressed. We got to quit, saying, hey, you know what? Gang banging is a great thing to do. That's what you should strive to do. Like, we have to stop.
We have to stop the victim mentality too.
We have to stop the victim mentality too.
You know, it keeps you from feeling like you're capable of doing anything. If you're constantly a victim, you're never going to feel capable of rising above your current place in life. And that goes for any human being on the planet. The victim mentality is crushing.
And that's the thing, is like every person out there, like if you are a minority or you have it rough, like there's somebody that's been in your exact shoes and didn't use that as an excuse and is now a huge success. And I don't care if you're white, black, I don't care what, like there's lots of poor white kids out there. Also lots of poor white kids making lots of bad decisions, and probably at scale much more than minority kids. But the fact is we got to stop removing responsibility for individuals. And another big thing that we're seeing here in America is people aren't being held to account when they break the law. They're let out on cash-free bail. That's clearly a problem. We saw that in Charlotte. We saw the same thing going on when the subway, what was his name? The Marine that ended up killing that guy on accident.
Oh, yeah.
The Good Samaritan.
Yeah.
Petty, I think his name was Petty. But again, we had a criminal that was a known criminal that had been let out multiple times. Like, we got to get those people. Like, you got to keep them in prison. And we have this idea, or there's this idea perpetuated on the left that it is some sort of good thing to let these people out time and time again when they have been shown to be violent. They're criminals through and through. And quite frankly, a lot of them, you're like, the only thing you can do is remove them from society.
I have a point.
Yep.
Okay.
And go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, make the point. I'm going to play this.
Go make your point.
I want to ask this question. It's a more hypothetical. So everybody knows the video from the dude stabbing the chick. If you're looking at the videos, it shows that the black woman that was sitting there kind of front left.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Say that was me. Okay. I heard the girl screaming. I turned around and looked, saw this actively happening. I was carrying. I pulled up and then shot and killed that dude. Okay. I'm not going to be able to save her. Even if I did render first aid, she would probably cut too deep. Now, what the problem I see in society is what happens to me. Am I going to look like, as a white dude sitting there, I pulled up and shot that guy that stabbed that girl? What repercussions am I going to do besides my morality in life that he did something he shouldn't have? And
depending on the jurisdiction, you're probably going to get executed.
Right.
And we saw that.
That's awful.
It is
And-
awful.
and even if
everybody's saying nobody did anything. Well, in this world we're in, everybody's so freaking scared to fight back.
To do anything.
Even
Well,
though in your heart, that's the right thing to do.
And-
Even if it's just stand up and punch him in the face.
And Chris, even if you were in a jurisdiction that was more favorable to self-defense and you had done that, I think in today's current culture, society, social media, you would be destroyed, smeared, and your family destroyed and smeared
100%.
on
You'd
social
most
media.
likely have
100%.
to go into hiding.
Yes.
It would be
They'd have
turned
to-
into.
They have to put me in Costa Rica after saying whatever. Or
It
I'd
would-
have to run.
It would get turned into, hey, he didn't have to kill
That was
him.
a hate crime.
Yeah.
He had a knife. He had a gun. He didn't have to kill him, even though he killed, this female over here.
Yeah,
I
sorry,
mean,
I'm
what
going-
happened was a hate crime.
Yeah.
He said, I'm going to get this white girl, or I got that white girl. It was a hate crime.
Sorry, I'm
period.
going to step above always what the person coming at me is.
All right, real
That's
quick.
what's crazy in this world. It's just
We'll come back to all that. And we'll jump back on the gun stuff here in just a second. Oh, one thing I did want, this has been brought up several times. Sean was like, "Oh man, what did I get into?" Look,
sorry, Sean.
Sean's like,
Sean,
Hey, you
exit.
did ask.
I-
Heads up.
I let him know ahead of time. I'm like, hey man, with all this going on, we're probably not going to talk about guns very much. We're going to be talking about, like, do you want to get in on this? Because it's going to get political. So he made his bed. He's laying in it. He's good. He's good. You guys don't feel sorry
You
for
can
Sean.
delete it. You can exit at any time, Sean.
That's right. He's like, stop, drop, and roll. I'm out of here. All right. Greg Gutfield pays tribute to Charlie Kirk's bravery and brilliance. Let's go ahead and play this. I think it's worth playing.
It's so tragic. And he touched a lot of people and a lot of people's hearts. You're going to hear a lot about more about that in the next hour and in the coming hours here on Fox News. His first television hit, Greg Gutfeld, was Fox and Friends in 2012, believe it or not. So We've known the young man for a long time, and may he rest in peace.
Yeah, he's. I've known him for probably 10 years. I mean, it's hard to gather your thoughts beyond just horror. So instead, I mean, you know, Charlie was such a force of nature. He was brilliant and he was funny, but what scared people was his persuasiveness. The only way to take him down, because he could persuade you so strongly, was to kill him. You know, and the shock and despair that we are feeling, and I mean we as in shared by everyone at home and around this table and in this building, it's a testament to the impact of Charlie's friendship and his bravery and his character. And it's so deep a wound that we all feel. It's because it feels like he's one of us. He's part of us because he was such genuinely a patriot and a great person. So how do you work through this stuff? You know, it's not about him or me, it's us, the viewers. You are us. What do we do? Well, you still do what you always do, but you do more of it. You stand up, you speak up, and you share the risk. Right now, you are recoiling, but you have to come back and return stronger, more fortified, and more resilient. What is ironic, fittingly, I guess, is that this is a turning point. You know, if you believe in Charlie, you got to believe in yourself because he believed in you. You know, this isn't over. This is the beginning. And Charlie's power just got released in all of us. He's going to be bigger now than he ever was on this chaotic planet. He made us all bigger. So I think that if you're at home and you're feeling bad, don't just get through it. And remember that he would want you to get stronger and not back down.
Jesse, before I go to you, President Trump has announced that the flags will fly at half-mast for Charlie Kirk until Sunday evening at 6 p.m. I know you knew him well, too.
Yeah, we're sick, we're sad, we're angry, and we're resolute. And we're going to avenge Charlie's death in the way Charlie would want it to be avenged. He was such a beautiful boy. He was an American boy. And he was incredibly positive. He was full of energy and life. And he made politics fun. You see it at his events when things blow up and the music plays. And we haven't had that in a very long time in this country. Every time he did a hit on my show, he would text me afterwards, "Thank you, Jesse. I really appreciate having you on."
Yep.
And my daughter loved him. I mean, she's 13 years old. This is a man who touched an entire generation of Americans and electrified them and made them patriots. And this is not a controversial person. This is not a polarizing guy, a divisive person, a firebrand that he's being described as in the media. This is like a guy that you have a barbecue with at your summer house. This is the kind of guy, if you came back with your daughter, you'd say, "Thank God, we got a good one." He's a great athlete. He's a great person. He's a great Christian. You see his family out there. He had his kids not facing the photos because he wanted to protect them, because he knew how evil people were. So when he goes out to these college campuses, he's not provoking anybody. He's like Socrates. He asks questions, and he does it with a smile. And there's nothing controversial about saying socialism is worse than capitalism. Men and women are different. Let's put America first, because that's all he was about, putting America first. And as Greg said, this hits differently because Charlie was one of us. And Trump gets hit in the ear. Charlie gets shot dead. They came after Kavanaugh with a rifle to his neighborhood. They went after Musk's cars. They just shot 2 Jews outside the embassy. Think about it. Scalise got shot, barely survived. It's happening. You got trans shooters. You got riots in LA. They are at war with us. Whether we want to accept it or not, they are at war with us. And what are we going to do about it? How much political violence are we going to tolerate? And that's the question we're just going to have to ask ourselves. Now, Charlie would want us to put as much pressure on these people as possible. Dana nailed it. This is unacceptable and has to stop. And it has to stop now. And everybody's accountable. And we're watching what they're saying on television and who's saying what. The politicians, the media, and all these rats out there. This can never happen again. It ends now. Greg's right again. This is a turning point, and we know which direction we're going.
Turning point used so appropriately there. This is also in Joe Biden has posted on X a statement. He said, "There is no place in our country for this kind of violence. It must end now." Jill and I are praying for Charlie Kirk's family and loved ones. I'm sure to have many more of these statements to come through. Harold, you also knew Charlie Kirk.
I met Charlie a few times. First off, my condolences and prayers to his family. This is a young dad. The kind of pain that his wife has to be experiencing as she is channeling her own kids, she should know she'll be lifted in my family's prayers tonight. You all have said it. This is horrifying. It's profoundly sad. A 31, 32-year-old young man. I know he was born in 1993. I don't know his exact birthday, but he'd been 32 this year if he wasn't already. I don't know all the details about the shooter or any of those things. I'm sure we will learn and rightly learn. But our infatuation with like our own politics and our own ideas causes us, I think, to drown in these thoughts and these justifications. I've read some things and seen some things that people have said today who have talked about Charlie's politics in a way that it sounds as if they are trying to bring some understanding or justification for this. There's no justification for this.
Yeah, let me touch on that. I'm going to show you guys a few things here in just a second. Like some of the stuff that we're seeing from the left on Twitter and everywhere else. But one of the things, and I just saw this, I'm going to share this tab real quick and show you guys. We're going to add that to the stage, and we're going to
It's not Twitter anymore.
big screen this. It's still Twitter.
Trump just if he's still on the loose because they want to find him. So I would think that that's one of the main reasons they're holding this news conference. So my guess is we're going to see an image of this guy possibly in the next 20 minutes. The news conference is scheduled for 3 o'clock in Utah time, which is 2 o'clock Pacific.
So for some context here, this is before he was actually pronounced dead.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're saying here is that the entire staff at TMZ, you guys can hear them in the background, are apparently cheering that he's dead.
O'clock in Utah time, which is 2 o'clock Pacific, 5 o'clock Eastern. Janet, go to
Real.
have somebody look at the Fox. Trump just posted that Charlie Kirk is dead.
All right, so is this ready to pull the trigger? We can get Trump cut in a second.
What did Trump say?
Yeah, who sent it?
So, and that's just one example. If you guys go through X, there's lots and lots of different examples of this, and just total compilations from many, many different places. There was one that I saw was constantly showing. Let me pull this one up. I actually saved this one because it was kind of going viral, and all these leftist folks were sharing this right here. Play this. So there's no audio, but me at the hospital watching Charlie Cook's datascope flatline. And there was a lot of big accounts that were sharing that at the time. So, again, we constantly see hate coming from the left, even though that's what they, supposedly accuse us of on the right. And there's just no comparison between the two. So,
Old Essence of dumpster juice over there is asking if he can join.
Essence of dumpster juice.
Down at the bottom.
I'm guessing this is probably not an open panel. Can I join? You're welcome to Essence of
Yeah, go
Dumpster
ahead.
Juice. You're welcome to
I
put comments
I
down there.
smell you.
Smell it.
It's the essence.
We did
Incredibly
try to
tragic.
get Mike, just for context, we did try to get Mike linked back in, but it doesn't seem to be.
Hey folks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to coordinate another time to have Sean and Mike back on. It's unfortunately we didn't get Mike back on. It was just a bad night to begin with. One thing that, look, going back to the Mark I and the firearms in general, firearm manufacturing in the community and all these things.
Too, by the way.
I'll share this.
If y'all haven't held one, you need to hold one because, yeah,
I want to share a comment.
You'll need it. Not just want it, you'll need
It's
it.
a freaking good looking rifle.
And this is one that I see a lot, right? Mexican Gator said the gun industry is the greediest, most arrogant, conceited industry
he meant
out there.
conceited,
No, I think
not
I think he's talking
I
about
know.
you, Gary.
Probably. That's fine.
He just misspelled gun. It was supposed to be Gary.
The Gary industry. I said, LOL, no, it's not. It's the most tax regulated and demonized industry out there. A firearms business or manufacturing is financially idiotic to start or get into. It's the most difficult, least profitable business possible. He said, where exactly did I say it wasn't regulated? I said, you didn't. But do you realize that regulated means a lot of unseen costs? Forget the fees associated, like an immediate 11% excise tax. So, folks, if you don't realize, we had Peter Churchborn on. He was talking about the benefits of that excise tax, and there's some good benefits when it comes to wildlife and the hunting and conservation that it goes through. But the fact is that 11% of the cost of that firearm is already built in. There's a tax built in when you buy that firearm. So, again, those firearms could immediately be 11% cheaper, but we are taxing that. On top of that, and cost of the firearm is due to taxes and are included in the price. On every firearm produced or FFL SOT license, the man hours spent for compliance of those regulations are huge burdens on the firearm industry. As a small shop, we probably spend 15 to 20 hours a week filling out forms, doing background checks, and double checking our FFL books. If the industry is so profitable, I challenge you to start a manufacturing company or even a firearm storefront. You'll see. Again, I said, hey, you know what? Tonight we're going to be talking to Mike. And you can ask him about some of these things. And I don't know how involved you are, Sean, with some of the compliance issues that you guys have to deal with, but there is a huge cost in that because of the government regulations that people just don't realize.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's actually it's an interesting. We can talk about this for a long time. If you're in our industry, you have to live and die by it. I mean, if you sell accessories, like I worked for Night Force for a long time, that's scopes. You really don't have much. But if you're doing ammunition, suppressors, rifles, your firearms, like you live and die by the ATF. They can come in at any time, and especially people don't understand. Oh, great, the zero tolerance went away, but to actually work at a place that literally, if one form with one box is incorrect, they could literally shut down your business for. That's scary. It's scary. And on top of that, when you have other aspects that get rolled into that, which is a whole, I'll shut up for here in a second, but you talk about like debanking and getting insurance and getting all the stuff where, if you do anything related to that, they don't want to touch it. Compliance, you have to, for a small business, you have to have a compliance expert, and there's books, and it's, hey, good luck. By the way, if you don't do this right, we'll come shut you down and throw you in jail.
And remove your ability, and not only all that, but like take your license from you and remove your ability to, pay your employees, feed your family, all those things. And you're talking about the banking issue, folks. We've talked about it before. Like we had three different. Number one, we had PayPal just steal like $12,000 from us. They just
I got mine pulled. Yep.
They pulled us, like we had to get a lawyer, and then we only got part of that back because they said that we were non-compliant because they'll change the terms on you. You just click yes, but guess what? It went from, hey, you could sell firearms and ammunition if you were a FFL on PayPal, but then they changed those terms at some point, and they said they could have fined us like $1,000 for every time
we sold something.
Which I don't even know how that works. And then they claim they're not a bank. So then we had like 3 different credit card companies cancel, processing companies cancel us. So we went weeks and weeks without the ability to take any form of payment other than cash. And then once we did get a processor, now because we're high risk because of the industry that we're in, we pay like 5% processing fees, not the standard 2.5% or 3%. So like there are fees. Look, folks, I'm just telling you right now, if somebody had told Gary before I started this business, hey, this is what you have to deal with, I would have been an idiot to start this business. And there's so many other ways to make money that are easier, more profitable. And that's another thing. Look, guys, I'll just tell you too, like as a dealer in this industry, like there is not much profit on firearms for us. And I guarantee you there's not nearly what you think the profit on manufacturers.
Yeah,
like we're talking single digit percents before you go into credit card fees, shipping fees, all the other expenses, marketing, all the things that we do.
We have a really great client that owns a hair product company, manufacturing company. And he was telling us what his profit margin, and I was like, screw that. We're starting a hair product company. Like, forget
There's like
the
3,000% or something.
Yeah, I was like,
it's,
forget the guns. Like, I will make hairspray all day long.
Summer, I just want to go back to Gary's comment back there when he was
If
talking to that
somebody would have
dude.
told me.
Did you see what that guy said? What Gary said back there on his comment? He said, "We."
Where?
Usually he said we have all this hours a week in the office doing paperwork. I was pumped.
We do.
He actually mentioned
He
you.
said we do.
When you're married, you and your wife are one. Ale third group.
I was like, he called you up for one summer.
Yeah.
Can we read the comments?
We were. That was your comment. We were reading it.
Ale third group, Green Beret here. One of my best friends growing up does high risk payment processing, works with industries, Vegas to include firearms. Thank you for that. Like we have a good service now, and we've checked multiple services. The high risk, it's pretty much all the same. There's a few different companies.
So there's credit card processing like companies, but they all run through one of like a couple that will manage the firearms industry. And it all goes through like the actual processor and underwriter of the payment processing is all like one of two or three in the industry.
But thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is a high risk industry, even though it doesn't need to be. But I guess you can probably circle it back around to why do we keep doing it? Well, it's because we love it too, right? Like it's the people that are involved in it. It's a passion project. It's in some ways creates an interesting business environment because everybody is into guns because they like it, not because you necessarily go to school to do it.
Yeah.
But it also brings people that are motivated, and so I think that's probably circling all the way back around to other stuff we've been talking about. That Mike has a great explanation of how the firearms industry is like one of the last great American industries because it is so much small business related versus conglomerations, where a company like Sons of Liberty Gunworks can go up against titans of industry and firearms manufacturing and win and have a chance, even get to the table. Like we can't go build a stealth fighter and go compete against Boeing and Lockheed, but we can go make a rifle and go compete against anybody in the world kind of thing. So
yeah, that's a great point.
It's an interesting industry in a lot of ways. Like there's a lot of really cool things, but you do have some pain in the ass side that you do got to deal with. That I think not everybody appreciates.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's a passion. Like every time Gary comes up to the store, he's like walking around looking. He's in the office. Like, what's in this box? What do you got here? Let me see that.
You turn the spotlight on him and it follows him around as he's walking.
Yeah.
Just the spotlight's on.
And then I'm like, hey, that MK1 came in, and he's like, oh, coming right up there. Like
got the little happy going.
I regularly get high on my own supply. Oh, and I want to put something out that I saw in the comments too.
You did it today. You're like, you're looking around the office, like, what are you looking for? He's like, I don't know. I just want to see what all you got in here.
No shit. Hey, cool shit.
Yeah.
Well, that's where like the gun shop, it's essential to gun business, but e-com, it's a fine balance because people want convenience, but you still, because of regulation, it keeps gun shops alive. Because what if you could get them shipped to your house? Would the local store be in business? But going back to it is one of the last American bastions of people actually show up and talk to you. And what do you have that's new? It is kind of that thrill of the hunt versus, I do. If we're going to go to the grocery store, I do it. I couldn't tell you last time my wife stepped in a grocery store because she can order it on her phone. So like, why do I need to go? Versus, and so therefore
Yeah.
if everything in society is, you can order a car and have it delivered to your house. You don't even have to go do that.
Yeah.
And so, it's one of the last few places where I think people actually get together and can, socialize and see stuff and do things.
Yeah, there's kind of a running joke with one of our clients. He comes out for private training quite often, and he's always like, "I'm not stopping at the store for summer because you'll show me something, and I'll spend a lot of money."
Yeah. When I slung guns back in the day, I had people who weren't allowed to talk to me. Like, you're just going to spend, you're going to cause my husband to spend more money. Like, that's my job.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to address, folks. I saw somebody in the video comment something about, it must be nice to get free guns. Folks, I have never. Clearly, I'm not at a YouTuber level that some other
Get
people
free
are.
guns. Can you get?
I do have a free gun on the way.
Y'all don't hear what
I'll
happens
talk about
behind the scenes either.
Anyways,
Before the show.
Typically I get guns wholesale because we're an FFL dealer and I spent a lot of money building a business and, we market guns. I have never received a free gun. I've gotten some free trinkets. I've gotten a couple of free scopes. And I'm not high-end scopes. Like the scopes I've gotten, even like when I reached out to Zero Compromise Review, I'm like, hey, we'll give you one at wholesale. So I got that. Zeiss, same thing.
Yeah.
We have a great relationship with them now, and they help with they augment our prize scopes.
Yeah.
For
But
our
those
long range
aren't free
courses.
either.
For long range.
Those cost us money too.
Yeah.
So-
All the prizes at our long range course cost us money. They are not free.
Well, and that's one of the things I definitely wanted to do to when, again, we're going to do this show again. But one of the things I want to do is like address a lot of the misconceptions in the gun industry. Everything from, I hear a lot of people talking about LMT and why you guys didn't go with monolithic rails and, why you didn't use a chrome bolt. All of these things that I think need to be addressed, because most of these things that you guys think are so high speed or the best out there, like there's a reason. And I don't know if you have time tonight, Sean, or that much about the testing that your guys went through and what you're willing to say as far as what other guns they were up against. But the fact of the matter is there's a reason why you see some of these things. The other thing, and I addressed this in the comments too, is I see a lot of, I'll just say it. I love LMT. LMT is a great company. I keep seeing people say in the comments that LMT has all these SOCOM contracts. I can't find those. I've never heard of an LMT gun being fielded in SOCOM. As a matter of fact, on their website, the only contract that they post that are U.S. is a grenade launchers and extra parts for that, which is fine. LMT is a great company. Maybe they'll get a SOCOM contract, but there's all these perceptions and misconceptions. Now, could it be possible? The other thing somebody said, well, you don't know about, some of these contracts, folks, all these contracts I've never seen. Maybe there are, but first of all, most of these government contracts, they have to be public by law. And there's nothing going to be so classified about any of the firearms that that's going to be like some skunk work secret squirrel deal. You can find that information. Now, what could have happened that this could be conflated with is that LMT, there could have been a unit that did a purchase order for X amount of, but that's not a contract, right? They could have done a purchase order. And maybe that's a thing. I don't know. And if I'm wrong on this, if you guys can find it, I searched all over the internet. I can't find it other than, internet lore. So a lot of these things get turned into fact when they are quite frankly fiction. But Sean,
my buddy has a buddy over at Group that said that they have a contract.
Well, and that's the thing. Like I know a lot of guys at Group, and I know a lot of guys in SOCOM.
That's
and I've never heard of an LMT gun being fielded by any SOCOM guys.
Yeah, Sean was about to say.
They did just win that MRGGA for an Assaulter 6.5 Creedmoor, but from a U.S. standpoint, no, I agree. I've not seen one kind of out in the wild. Now they've done some overseas stuff. I mean, they won that British DMR program, New Zealand, some other guns, and they make great guns. I personally own a couple of LMTs. But yeah, I think the self-validation and hero worship gets a little strong, and I think the perception of how big this gun business for the U.S. government actually is. I mean, realistically, you might find FN and Colt M4s, but to say, oh, you may make bolts for somebody, or there's companies that make parts that are subcontractors that you've never hear about. They're a far bigger government weapons manufacturer than a lot of these other brands that, like you said, oh, we sold something on a PO, or we got a loaner to somebody. Oh, the 2 went on deployment. Okay, they may have gotten stuck in a duffel bag, but they weren't an issued program of record. Like I said, a program of record of like, this is, these guys are actually using it because the government did spend money on it.
Yeah, like my entire team when we deployed to Iraq, Olympic Arms, which is no longer business as far as I know, in Olympia, Washington, they were like obviously right outside our first group, and we know some guys with us. So we got a good deal on like 6-inch shorties, uppers, and like we took all those shorties overseas, and we used those all through that deployment. They worked flawlessly, but again, that's a lot. And I don't know, I don't think anybody really saw it, but that's a big difference than saying, hey, Olympic Arms won a contract, and this is why they're so good. Again, and that's another thing that I really get tired of. And I see it in the comments too. It's like everybody demonizing, like, oh, I have a Knight's Armament. It's the sweetest thing ever. Everything else is trash. Sons of Liberty's trash. Freaking Noveski's trash. Like, why can't they all be good? Because they are. Like, there is no firearms company today, just about, that is producing stuff that isn't some of the highest quality guns out there. Like, the competition is fierce, and most of these guns are really, really good.
Most is a good.
Yeah, I mean, most of the guns are really, really good, or they're selling. If you want to buy the bottom of the barrel stuff, that's fine.
Okay,
but
they still function.
But again,
sometimes
even you look at like some of these PSA Sabers, even like the PSA Saber stuff, like. That you put that up against an AR like 15 years ago, you'd be like, this thing's freaking like top of the line.
Agreed.
Sweet shit.
Yeah. No, it's definitely changed. And
you're good.
Yeah. There is, going back to probably the darker side of our industry, we are one of the worst for eating our own.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you see people cheer like, oh, Anderson went out of business. A lot of people cheered when that happened. But you know what? That was an economical AR that got guns in a lot of people's hands. And they probably made stuff for other companies that you never know of.
Mm-hmm.
But like, why would we cheer? Why would some segment do that? Or to your point, like I have LMT, I have Knights, I have some Geisley stuff, and I have Sons of Liberty. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And in the scheme of things, I mean, guys are into bikes, or both self-powered and motorcycles, cars, wine, booze, watches. You know what? You have some that are brand fanatics. Like, there's some guys that have only Porsches, but I've met guys that have Porsches and Lambos and Ferraris, and people that have Omega watches and Rolexes. Like, why do we have to say one or the other? Or we acknowledge there are fantastic other guns out there, and if you like it, buy it. If you like guns, also look at ours. We'll show you what's cool, and you might like shooting it too. But to say that, oh, everything's trash but mine, that's just cheap, sleazy sales tactics. That's not acknowledging the bigger ecosystem that's out there.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't even hear the manufacturers
100%.
saying that.
It's just all the people.
It's
It's the consumers.
It's mostly the consumer base, because look, if you were in the gun business and you're making, especially on the high end ARs, whether we're talking about Noveski, we're talking about some of the Sons of Liberty, the Mark I, and LMT, all these companies. Like, if you don't think that like every component is the best selection and the best product, then get out of the business. Like, and you should be able to, like, hey, we use this because of this, which I actually have watched. You guys have 2 videos that I know of on the Mark I. I watched another one that I hadn't seen until today, where Mike actually talks about some of the different components that they chose and why. And like, hey, you know what? Here's why we didn't choose this. And he talks specifically about ambidextrous controls when it comes to, the bolt catch, a couple other things. Like, those are important points that people need to know. And again, a lot of these rifles are being designed specifically to meet a very specific need, and that need may not be for you, and you may not understand why those people would want that, but they have more experience than you, and they probably have a little bit more knowledge of working with firearms in less than ideal conditions. And like, it doesn't mean that Sons of Liberty is trying to charge you an arm and a leg and just trying to rip you off because it's like, oh, they don't even have AMB controls on there. Well, there's a reason for that. There's a reason that the guns cost the way what they do.
See, I have a totally different view on that.
I don't care.
Well, this is what I base it on because I'm more of a bourbon guy. So I think of it as this. So you have both ends of the spectrum for bourbon. You're going to have the Old Crow bottom of the shelf when you go in the liquor store. That's your Air Precision. You're going to be drinking it. You're going to be like, this is gross. And you're trying to get to that level that you want to be at on that Old Crow. And then that's where you're going to be at on your AR. Or you go Sons of Liberty, you're up there with the Pappy. You're sipping that, and you're just like, you're smiling a little bit, and then you're getting that thing zeroed in and shooting it, and it's a good time. You did spend more getting to that end portion, whereas the Old Crow liquor, you were like, I spent a little less, and it's going to take you more time to get there, and you're going to have more frowns.
And you just don't have as much joy.
I didn't
You're
follow
definitely
that.
not going to have as much. You're not a drinker.
I didn't follow that analogy at all.
I
I don't
did.
understand.
There is probably
I did.
75%.
Okay, I'll support your bourbon one. Here you go. So we talked about this just last week. We're at a range thing, and we had a person come up, a lady. She shot the AR. I was like, man, this is really nice. This is a lot of fun. It's like, glad you love the product. Yes, we agree. It's fantastic shooting gun. However, unfortunately, you don't have the experience to know what bad is either. Like you just came out drinking a top shelf bourbon. And so like, you don't know what cheap crap tastes like. And so therefore it's harder to appreciate it, but nonetheless, both sides can still appreciate it. You can start at one, or you can start at the best, but eventually you stick at it long enough. Like, why do I keep drinking this cheap crap? Until one day, you're like, I'm going to start getting the better stuff.
I went to the point of bottle price.
When he explains it, I completely
bottle price point. Bottle price point too. You're going to have a higher end bottle. It's going to be much more favorable to the palate and everything. You got this other one that's $9.99 laying here on the bottom shelf at 7-Eleven with the locked door. You got to get them to let you in the middle of downtown Martinsburg.
Look, it's like me drinking my tea with the nugget ice. Like if I drink it in just a regular plain old glass,
Oh, you're completely ruining
it's not
this.
nearly as nice as when I drink it from
You're
like
ruining me
a
and
pink-
Sean's.
a pink cup.
We're bonding here.
So much joy over a pink cup. Okay.
All of this stuff that we're talking, the whole leftist problem all started with freaking
With women.
giving women
I
voting
know.
rights.
And then nugget ice.
And a microphone.
Yeah, like Sean, I appreciate you recognizing where I was coming from.
Yes.
Yeah, Sean explained the
Deep.
analogy.
He did. I'm just a humble redneck from the hollers in West Virginia.
This is kind of this kind of bridges both of these topics. The left preach so much gun control and how we need to get rid of them, and then turn around and then use them whenever someone.
I think that's their tactic.
Yeah. Look, we're never going to get.
Look how bad it is.
I'll tell you a great example of gun control. I was listening to a podcast with Joe Rogan, and I think it was Ed Calderon. Like Mexico is the perfect example of how gun control actually plays out. None of the citizens actually have guns, and they can't defend themselves. But all the cartels, all the criminals, they all have guns, and the citizens, if they get caught with a gun, they're going to jail forever. The cartels, they can get caught, beheading 15 people, and they're back out on the street the next day. So that's how gun control works. Mexico is the perfect example. They have extremely strict gun control. They have one of the biggest gun violence problems in the world. And that's the exact same thing that'll take place here in the U.S. But, the fact is like, we definitely need to be much more organized, I think Americans on the right and people that believe in traditional values and those things understand, like, we always, all of us have like jobs, right? Unlike these other paid protesters and stuff, like we have shit to do. They can go out and protest and do all the stuff and just, do whatever. Like we need to realize how important that making our voice heard actually is. And that was a great example of what Charlie Kirk always did. He get out there, he talked about, he defended his values. For some reason, we were sold this bill of goods that we weren't supposed to defend our values. And we didn't. And we had this silent majority for so long. And I still think it's a silent majority. But we have the left that gets out there and makes so much noise. And it does intimidate a lot of people on the right. We have to stop being intimidated. We have to get out there. We have to defend our values, make sure that we have a compelling, articulate argument so that we can persuade people like Charlie Kirk did. And that's what we got to do, whether it's gun control, whether it's freedom of speech, whether it's freedom of commerce. Like the idea that we're getting canceled and we're worried about banks canceling us or YouTube canceling us or all of these things, like that has got to stop. It's un-American as fuck. It absolutely is. And we got to stop, and people getting assassinated because of this. Like, they fear when the right gets out there, and that when real Americans get out there and speak their mind and defend their values. And we got to start doing it more. We got to get more organized in doing that.
But like, Rob and Imam, said earlier, like, how do you reconcile and talk to your kids about like, hey, you need to state the facts and always stand up for what you believe. But if you do, you might die. You know what I'm saying? And like, that's the risk we're taking. But I'm saying
that for our left.
that's
insane.
a hard thing.
It's insane
That we have to face in the world today.
Liberty is dangerous.
I know.
I mean, that's a fact. Like,
and you and I have had many conversations as business owners and husband and wife. Like, listen, if we pursue this path in our business or we speak out about this, we may lose everything. Like, we've had these conversations, and it's been a reality at some different times throughout in recent times. Like, if we do these things, we may lose everything.
And folks, like, you have no idea, because of the things that I said about the Trump event in Butler, we lost a huge client. This cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I knew that was a risk, and I was hoping it didn't happen, but I wasn't going to curb what I had to say and to be as critical of different agencies. Well, it hit us, and it hit us hard. I'm talking hundreds of thousands of dollars of income because of what we had to say about that. So,
well, and on top of that, like, there were things going on that I was fearful for our physical safety.
We had
as a family and for my kids.
We had all kinds of people calling shop. It got crazy there for a little bit, and I have pulled back, not because I'm afraid, but because of the freaking headache of getting into like the current events and getting into politics and all of those things. Like, it's just, to me, the juice ain't worth the squeeze.
The
we'll
nut
still
jobs
do it.
come out of the woodwork.
Yeah. Like, you were like, and Charlie Cook, again, great example. You those types of things happen. Like, people, there are nut bags out there that freaking come out, and next thing you know, they're showing up at our shop. They're calling our shop nonstop. They're trying to get us canceled. All the underhanded things that they do because of you voicing your opinion.
Making physical threats against us. That happened.
But you cannot, you can't be intimidated. You got to keep going. Here we are, right? Even though we lost money, even though we had people threatening us, that's just fact. And I don't care what anybody says. You're never going to hear me say anything that I don't believe for monetary value. That's just not going to happen. I don't get guns for free. If I did get all the guns for free, I would still give the criticism, or my opinion wouldn't change, because I don't care about money. Ask Summer. Like, I'm fine without money. I don't care.
I feel like the couple of small things you've gotten for free, those are like your least favorite items.
Yeah, they're trash.
I mean, I'm just saying.
They're trash. I need to give them away. And I will say, and this is my honest opinion, and I need to do more. We're going to do more in depth. But right now, the Mark I is by far the best AR that I've ever shot. I do have. Hold on. I do have a Mark. I do have a free AR supposedly coming. Well, I'll just tell you, Blackout Defense is sending me an AR to test. I definitely want to test that. I would love to test that up against the AR. Both of those are very expensive, high-end ARs. We'll test them out. We'll see what the differences are. But that's not going to persuade my opinion on either one of them. I couldn't care less about money. Anyways,
as if you know Gary and I, he doesn't care about spending money. No.
Well, Sean, like I think what happened was Mike heard the conversation. He's like, I'm out, bro.
Oh no, we'd be here for another hour. Like, he start that engine. Like, no, he's. That is one thing that's been fun about here in Sons. I mean, literally the name Sons Liberty Gunworks. The original Sons of Liberty were the instigators for some of the things that helped bring about our country. Founding fathers and all. So, kind of wrapping up. Really right now it's a battle of those with nothing to lose and those with stuff to lose, and the ideology that goes around that, or what's easy to prey upon. I mean, people are being weaponized. They have nothing to lose, and that's the most dangerous foe, right? So that's where,
Yeah,
you know,
that's a great point.
vigilance and determination. Like it's,
People that have nothing to lose are being weaponized. You're
yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yep. Well, listen, folks. Yeah, we're gonna call it a night right there. I still want to kind of see what else is going on with the whole Charlie Kirk situation. Hopefully they've caught somebody. We're definitely gonna reschedule with Sean. We got a lot more to talk about with him and Mike. There's so much more details into that gun that we need to discuss.
You just need to tell Mike to come here. That way he doesn't have any problems.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you know what, tell Mike to get on a plane
Tell
tomorrow.
Mike to come.
Yeah. Tell Mike to come.
Anyways,
You're welcome to, Sean.
Yeah.
Come out. Come to the holler.
whether it's probably not
Yeah.
tomorrow, but maybe we can anyways, I'll coordinate with them. Maybe we'll look at Friday or something like that and get them back on here, and we'll get on a little early and sort out Mike's technical issues. And I think it'll be a fun discussion. Got anything else to tell anybody, Sean?
Nope, just the Mark 1. We do have an anodized version coming out that's $26.99, so it's below 3,000. So there you go.
There you go.
What I do love the paint job on that one.
The
yeah.
camo's pretty cool. The Mark 1
It is.
camo is pretty sexy. But
Whatever you get on the foregrip on that one, I don't know if
The
it's lasered
texture,
or
it's laser
oh
grid.
my
You
god.
oh yeah, that's the magic sauce right there.
Oh, I didn't watch the video. I don't want to stare at you for that long. I got to sit beside you.
Dirtbag. Like I don't care what anybody. I saw a lot of comments. Oh, you can just put any sort of texture like that texture.
No.
Folks, if you feel that texture, you're not going to replicate it with panels
Nope.
or some freaking tape.
Nope.
It is special to say the
Mark,
least.
Special.
yeah, that make sure you write that down to ask Mike of how many different versions they tried.
I heard
get
it was
to
like
that
3,
point.
at least 3.
Just three?
At least 3, at least. Yeah, no, a lot of experimentation, how to do it, how to make it. That is actually one of our biggest supply chain bottlenecks. Is it just takes hours of laser engraving to do it, and you can't not laser engrave it because the process yields some of that result. So
Yeah.
anyways, it's that's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
I
Is
got
it octagonal or is it pentagram?
Shut up. I got a 50-watt laser engraver right over there.
It's got
And
dust. That's got dust
I know
on it.
exactly the pain in the ass that must, or at least a really good idea of what it must take to do those, especially at scale, because lasers don't engrave in mass very well.
And that thing has to roll and do it perfect. You know what I mean?
You're wrong.
Okay. I see here.
You're
Yeah,
absolutely right.
that thing, that's
You're
got to be
100%
nuts
right.
to do. I mean, it's so perfect. And it feels insane. I mean, there's nothing like it that I've ever felt or held or anything.
Oh.
Sorry.
It might be ribbed for pleasure.
It's got ribbed.
Hey, Sean, thanks
You
for
need to
coming on.
bring something else
Tell
up
Mike
for that.
we'll reschedule. I'm sorry you had
Perfect.
trouble getting on, but we really appreciate you coming on. I look forward to talking more about the Mark 1 and Sons of Liberty more in the next couple days or whenever we can reschedule.
Perfect.
Good
All
to
right,
see you, Sean.
folks. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, stay armed, stay ready, and we'll talk to you soon.